And I hereby waive the requirement of a return of service and welcome everyone to the 2025 Medfield Annual Town Meeting. At the outset, I would like to acknowledge a terrible loss in the community today. We're respecting the family's wishes for privacy at this difficult time, but I would like to ask everyone to join me in a brief moment of silence. Thank you. As is our custom at town meeting, I would like to ask all the veterans present to either stand or raise their hands to be recognized. Great. Thank you. Thank you all for your service to our country. I'd also like to ask anyone who is at town meeting for the first time tonight to raise your hand. Welcome. Thank you. And thank you all and welcome, and a special thank you and welcome to our Medfield High seniors that I think I see some over there and dispersed around with buttons for their first time voting. So welcome to town meeting. I hope this is the first of many. Now at this point, I would like to welcome Suzanne Munsey to the middle microphone, please. Now Suzanne's mother, Sandra Munsey, who recently passed away, was Medfield's first female select board member. We're grateful for her service and honor her memory here tonight. Suzanne, who made the long trip from the Cape, will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and she has a picture there of her mother at her swearing-in day. I think 1978, if 70. Thank you. Suzanne, if you could please lead us in the pledge. Everyone stand. Thank you.
And thank you for this honor from a Medfield High School graduate in 1979. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Suzanne. Please remain standing. I'm sorry. I'll get this right eventually. While Medfield High student Vivian Ladd leads us in performing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Vivian. Everyone can be seated now. Okay. Next, and also according to town meeting custom, I will read the names of Medfield volunteers that have passed away since last year's town meeting. Ann Kearney, Joan Snow, Edith O'Toole, Frederick Snow, Timothy Flaherty, Paul Finnerty, Margaret Joseph, Stephen Fosdick, Matthew Malloy Jr., Norman Cody, Warren Busso, George Shackley, Barbara Temple, Ralph Costello, Philip Brandolo, Nancy McCarthy, Donna Como, Marjorie Temple, Alice Goodsell, and Harold Pertoni. Now I would also like to welcome Medfield's two dedicated but very busy state representatives, Reps Vaughn and Rep Tarski, both who were here and may still be here, milling about somewhere, but they have a number of town meetings to attend to today, but we thank them for joining us tonight. Some of you eagle-eyed annual town meeting members will observe that Chief Carrico is not at his usual perch by the doors tonight, as yesterday was his last day as Medfield Fire Chief. I know you'll join me in thanking him for his years of service to Medfield and best wishes in retirement. And at the same time, join me in congratulating his successor and 20-year vet of the Medfield Fire Department, Chief Bill DeKing. I want to take a moment to recognize those on stage. To my right, Town Clerk Miriam Benaldi, Assistant to the Town Administrator Brittany Franklin, Assistant Town Administrator Frank Gervasio, Town Administrator Christine Trierweiler, Chair of the Select Board Gus Murby, Select Board Member Pete Peterson, Select Board Member Eileen Murphy, Town Council Mark Sorrell. To the left of me, the Warrant Committee, Co-Chair Steve Callahan, Co-Chair Bob Sliney, Ed Vizella, Emily McCabe, Peter Michelson, Brent Nelson, Jillian Rafter, Pete Saladino, and Ashley Ledoux. Very clappy tonight. All right. Love the enthusiasm. One of my great privileges as moderator is to appoint new members to the Warrant Committee, something very near and dear to me as a former Warrant Committee chair. And we have open positions for the Warrant Committee from time to time. If it's something that you're even remotely interested in, I strongly encourage you to either catch me after town meeting tonight, or you can email me at medfieldtownmoderator@medfield.net. Now we're going to have a brief review of some of the rules of order. All of the rules of order you'll find printed in the yellow warrant, but these are some of the key ones that I just think bear repeating. The rules of order, I already read that one. Okay. The subject matter of town meeting is limited to the articles set forth in the 2025 report on the warrant for the annual town meeting. The order of the articles has been determined in advance and is reflected in the agenda handout that accompanied the printed warrants. The moderator will recognize the Warrant Committee for the purposes of making the main motion on each article. Because each article has been recommended for passage by both the Select Board and the Warrant Committee, we'll only have reports for certain articles, which will be given after the main motion. There will be no requirement of a second from the floor on main motions. As each article of the warrant is presented, the discussion and the vote are not on the articles printed in the warrant, but rather on the motion that is on the floor for consideration. Any voter wishing to speak at town meeting should go to the designated microphone. As we introduced last year, we have 3 microphones. They're in the center of the floor. You see green yes, red no, yellow question mark. If you wish to speak in an article, please go to the appropriate microphone. It's to help determine how long debate might be, and also to identify positions right away. Upon being recognized by the moderator, identify yourself by name, street address, and position in town government, if any. I will be enforcing a 2-minute time limit on all speakers, which will be tracked by the digital clock over there in the view of all voters. I've also asked that the folks up here on stage be mindful of that same 2-minute limit. There may be occasions where I allow a reasonable amount of additional time depending on the circumstances. Every speaker must directly address the article at issue and speak through the moderator. Any comments about an individual, an article not currently under consideration, or other topics not relevant to the article will result in redirection and may result in the speaker forfeiting any remaining time. To avoid confusion, we will allow only one motion to amend to be pending on the floor at any one time. If you wish to offer an amendment to the motion on the floor, please approach the yellow question microphone. State your intention to offer an amendment. Then explain what part of the motion you want changed and what you want it changed to. After that, we can help you with the procedure for offering the motion to amend. It will be my practice to take voice votes. If I'm in doubt as to the outcome of the voice vote, I will ask for a show of hands. If still in doubt, a count by standing vote will be taken. Such a standing count shall be administered by the Deputy Moderator, Mike Marcucci, over at the doors, who has very kindly made me a perfect 2 for 2 in guilting former town officials to be back into service. If members of town meeting doubt the ruling of the moderator on a voice or hand vote, by state statute, any 7 voters may demand that a standing vote be taken. Please, all cell phones and other portable devices on off or silent. Finally, we do not want anyone to get hung up on procedure. If you wish to make a motion or point of order and are unsure of how to do so, raise your hand, go to the mic, ask, and anyone up here on stage can help you through it. And with that, we will begin Medfield's legislative process with the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains a number of warrant articles to be acted upon collectively for the purpose of expediting the proceedings. For reference, please look to page 4 of the warrant report. I will read the title of the articles for inclusion on the 2025 consent agenda. As I read, if you would like to have further discussion on any one of these articles, signify by raising your hand and saying hold. If held, the subject article will be taken up individually. We have Article 1, Annual Town Report. Article 4, Annual Revolving Fund Expenditure Limit Authorization. Article 5, Cemetery Perpetual Care Trust Fund. Article 6, Local PEG Access Appropriation. Article 9, Appropriation Transfer to the Capital Stabilization Fund. Article 11, Transfers to the Municipal Building Capital Stabilization Fund. Article 22, Conservation Trust Fund. I will now offer a motion that Articles 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11, and 22 be passed as printed in the warrant. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. I declare that the motion passes unanimously as a majority vote. Okay. The first article outside of the consent agenda is Article 27, prior year bills. It's found on page 64 of the warrant. We have a motion from Ashley Ledoux.
Positive motion, move that the town appropriate the sum of $6,550 from fiscal year 2025 available funds for the purpose of paying prior year bills incurred in fiscal year 2024.
Do we have any questions or comments on the article? Okay, hearing none, we will vote on the motion offered. This is a 4/5 majority threshold. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I deem that the motion carries. Okay, for the next 3 articles, 15, 16, and 17, they are very similar in character, so we will have one report read by Warrant Committee member Bob Sliney before we take each article separately by each motion. So that is Articles 15, adjusted tax exemption amount for Clause 17, seniors. Article 16, adjusted asset limit for Clause 17, seniors. And Article 17, adjusted income limit and asset limits for Clause 41, seniors. Bob?
Articles 15, 16, and 17 are related but require separate votes. These articles relate to property tax exemptions allowed under certain circumstances for senior citizens, surviving spouses, or surviving minor children. The proposed changes under Massachusetts general law allow for increases in either the property tax exemption amount or certain income and whole estate qualification tests based on changes in the consumer price index if all 3 articles are adopted by the town meeting. The cost increase will be approximately $3,500 and will be covered by the Board of Assessors within the overlay account.
Okay, so Article 15, adjusted tax exemption amount for Clause 17. Do we have a positive motion?
Article 15, move that the town accept Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 17F, to fix the increase at 100% of the CPI effective in fiscal year 2026.
Any questions or comments on the article? Okay, this requires a simple majority. All in favor of Article 15, please say aye. All opposed? Deem that the article carries. Article 16, do we have a positive motion from the Warrant Committee?
Move that the town accept Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 17E, effective fiscal year 2026.
Any questions or comments on the article? Okay. This also requires a simple majority. Vote on the motion offered. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Deem that the article carries. Article 17. Bob?
Move that the town accept Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41D, effective fiscal year 2026.
Any questions or comments on the article? Okay. This also requires a simple majority. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Deem the article carries. Okay. Article 18, Senior Tax Work-Off Program Amendments. You can find that in page 54 of the warrant report. We have a motion and a report from Bob Sliney.
Positive motion is to move that the town amend Code of the Town of Medfield, Chapter 250, Taxation, Article 1, Senior Tax Work-Off Program, as set out in the warrant. The Warrant Committee reports the Medfield Senior Tax Work-Off Program was first adopted by the 1990 Annual Town Meeting and amended by Town Meeting in 2014 to increase the annual amount of tax reduction to $1,000. The amendments proposed this year include increasing the annual maximum tax reduction to $1,500, which is the maximum allowed by the Commonwealth. Each year, the Select Board can determine the number of participants. This year's maximum number of participants was 65. In addition, it amends the bylaw to allow individuals who work part-time, less than 15 hours per week, for either a school or town department to participate in the program. For example, substitute teachers.
Do we have any questions or comments on the article? Okay, this also requires a simple majority. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Deem the article carries. 19, adjusted exemption amount, Clause 221, veterans.
Move that the town accept Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 221, effective fiscal year 2026. The town currently offers property tax exemptions to those veterans who meet the qualifications under the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clauses 22, 22A, 22B, 22C, 22E, and 22F. This article will allow these exemption amounts to increase each year by the CPI as determined by the Commissioner of Revenues. The average of the CPI increases for the last 3 years has been 5.6%.
And that was adjusted exemption amount, Clause 222I, not 221. Any questions or comments on the article? This also requires a simple majority. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Deem the article carries. Article 2, elected officer compensation. You'll find that on page 23 of the warrant report. We have a positive motion from Pete Saladino.
Move that Article 2 be passed as set out in the warrant.
Do we have any comments or questions on the article? Okay, this requires a simple majority. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Deem the article carries. Next is Article 3, Personnel Administration Plan, be found on page 25 of the warrant report. A positive motion from Pete Saladino.
Move that the Personnel Administration Plan be amended as printed in the warrant report.
Any questions or comments on the article? This requires a simple majority. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Deem the article carries. Article 7, rescind authorization for Parks and Recreation revolving account. Can be found on page 25 of the warrant report. We have a positive motion from Jill Rafter.
Move that the town vote to rescind the provisions of MGL Chapter 44, Section 53D, previously accepted by the 1978 annual town meeting.
Do we have any questions or comments on the article? This requires... Okay. You're allowed. This requires a majority vote. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Deem that the article carries. Article 10, capital budget appropriation, non-buildings, can be found on page 38 of the warrant report. We have a positive motion from warrant committee member Brent Nelson.
Move that $2,191,930 be appropriated to pay costs of funding the capital projects in the recommended amounts as set out in the warrant report, including all costs incidental and related thereto, the approved capital projects. That to meet this appropriation, the town shall fund each of said approved capital projects from the recommended source of funding identified in the warrant report, and that the select board is authorized to enter into any contracts and to take all actions necessary to carry out said approved capital projects.
Okay. We have a voter at the question mic. Please state your name and address.
Chris McHugh Potts, 7 Curve Street. Most of the, I would say pretty much everything in the list on Article 10 is self-explanatory except for one, and I would just ask the moderator if we could get a more detailed explanation regarding the $300,000 request for the school information technology for from the Capital Stabilization Fund. There was a very detailed spreadsheet that was shared with the Capital Budget Committee as part of the review, but it wasn't really made public. And there's a lot of detail in there, and I think the request for $300,000 is confusing, and I think for the benefit of the voters, they should understand this particular one better.
Brent, do you have a response to that?
The vast majority of the expenses over the last 2 or 3 years that have fallen under this line item have been for equipment and hardware. For example, routers, security equipment for all the doors that enter the school buildings, cameras, things of that nature. So it's hardware with a certain lifetime for the most part. If there are any additional details that you would need to know beyond that, I guess I would have to ask if somebody from the town administration department would like to address it.
We have another question.
Sure. Dick Judge, 8 Juniper. Just wondering why it falls under the capital budget and not the school budget, seeing how it's a school expenditure for this $300,000.
I believe the question was why this falls under the capital and not the school budget?
Yeah, it eventually falls under the capital budget, I understand, but it is being requested by the school, so it should be directed through the school for the capital budget. In the event that there's a challenge with this, I don't want it to come...
Mr. Judge, let's direct your question, and then you can go to one of the other mics.
So my question is, that is my question, and the challenge, though, is that if it comes back to bite us, the town is going to be answering it, not this.
We're going to answer your question, and then you can address it after.
And I haven't finished my question. My question is, if it does fall under the town, the selectmen would be answering the questions, not the school committee.
So the town and the schools have shared the capital budget since 2019.
I understand. But the request coming through should have come through the school committee.
So maybe I can take a crack at it. So as I understand your question, you wanted to know why this is a capital budget item, as opposed to something in the operating budget. And we have a financial policy within the town for capital items that have a life of more than 5 years. They go through a capital budget process. There's a separate committee set up to review those. The select board votes on them, and then the warrant committee votes on it. And so these items, these IT items fall within that definition, and it's done in accordance with our financial policy.
So this is equipment that will
Yes.
last more than 5 years? It's not consulting for electronic?
No, it's equipment.
Strictly equipment? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just Chris Potts again, 7 Curve Street, just a follow-up question. On this spreadsheet that provides the details for fiscal year 2022, 23, 24, and 25, right now it says that there's a current balance of $300,000. So I guess fundamentally I'm just not understanding how this gets spread out and why that says there's a current balance of $300,000 and we are requesting, it would seem another $300,000. So I just think it just needs some clarification.
What spreadsheet is she referring to, do you know?
The document that was provided to the Capital Budget Committee in response to understanding how the $300,000 was spent. Part of the issue is that the money gets appropriated towards the purchases. The purchase orders are created. The equipment is requisitioned, and then it can take up to 15 to 18 months to actually arrive. As you may recall, there were some issues with all of us trying to get computer equipment in 2022, 23, and 24. So many of the purchases actually flow, or the equipment is received in the year after the money is appropriated. So that's part of the accounting. It is confusing. But the equipment is indeed capital equipment, and it's appropriated in this way in the same spirit that we are soon going to appropriate money from the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund for the purpose of school buildings. It's a similar idea.
Another question?
Yeah, question. My understanding of...
Oh, excuse me, sir. Could you just state your name and address?
Yeah, Tom Sweeney, 61 North Street, Medfield, 02052.
You're on the Christmas card list, my friend.
That loud enough?
Please, go ahead.
My question in the stabilization fund, when it was first proposed by a selectman, $1 million was set aside for the fund. Now, I haven't counted it up now. How much have they spent of the $1 million so far?
So I think,
So-
you're referencing the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund. This
Yeah.
is the Capital Non-Building Stabilization Fund. 2 separate funds.
You still had to appropriate the $1 million.
The $1 million that was appropriated was the override done in 2018. It went into effect in 2019, and that's
Yeah.
the municipal. Capital stabilization doesn't have a dedicated revenue source.
You're still appropriating for this year.
Right.
Yeah, so what I'm asking, how much is being appropriated
So
through
the
each one of those accounts?
The total from the Capital Stabilization Fund is $988,000.
958,000,
988.
980. Now, later on, you're going to appropriate $1 million to fulfill the stabilization fund. Right?
So I believe you're talking about a different article.
Yeah.
So this is just the capital stabilization.
I understand. I've been around here a long time. You know,
Right. So
86
do you have any
years.
other questions about this article?
I'm out of order?
Do you have any other questions about this article?
Well, that's what I wanted to know, is spending this, are you appropriating another $1 million somewhere else?
So, unlike the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund, which has a dedicated source of revenue every year, this one does not. So we do require funds to be raised or transferred from free cash every year, and those are appropriated.
Where's that? That's another question. Where's the money being raised from?
It's free cash. So
Free cash?
Do you know what free cash is? I can explain it.
I know free cash.
Okay, so that's what it's coming from free cash.
What year free cash?
24.
24, yeah. Fiscal 24 is free cash. Every year,
I understand.
we need to take free cash and put it in this fund because there's no dedicated source of revenue. We
I
have
understand that.
have to run the town and buy all this equipment, so.
I was an assessor for 13 years. I think I understand it. Now, I understand that part. How do we get back the other portion of it, from free cash and then money raised?
So this particular fund, only source comes from free cash.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
well, whatever that is now, so. That comes at another appropriation, I take it.
That,
It was in the consent agenda.
yeah, that was in the consent agenda.
Okay,
We already voted on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. We've got one. All right.
What is the lifetime of the equipment, and what's the projected replacement?
Sir, if you could just say your name and
Excuse me, I apologize. Steve Dragatakis, 18 Hillcrest Road. So what's the lifetime of the equipment, and what's the projected replacement cycle time, duty time?
Well, there's the 300, I assume you're referring to 300,000, the school.
Yeah, I understand the amount of money. I'm just looking
No,
at...
I'm just making sure I understand your
All right.
question. That's what you're referring to.
Okay.
But there's probably, in previous years, there's been 15 to 20 different line items, so I wouldn't know the exact lifetime on every one. But to be in this particular account, the expectation is that the lifetime is over 5 years.
Okay. And is the equipment on hand? Has it already been ordered yet?
No, for the most part, this is things that arise, so it would be as things need to be replaced.
Okay,
So
so
primarily,
this isn't directed towards any specific equipment, it's just to take care of projected equipment
exactly.
needs?
And it's run about 300,000 per year each
Okay,
year. That's why
and
we asked for the
Any
breakdown.
idea what our increased tariffs are going to do to the cost of this equipment? Any projections?
That's a great question, though.
Yeah, it is a great project. Okay, thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, Chris, one more question.
Yeah, Chris Potts, I just want to actually clarify what Brent just said, that based on the article balances for each of these years, so 2022, it ran a little bit over 63,000. The next year, it was 221,000, and then the next year it was 312, about 313,000. So I guess it's just, my question is, 300,000 seems high to me.
Is that a question or a statement, Chris?
No, I just want, if it's a fact checked in terms of, so people
Are those
understand.
numbers correct?
Well, many of those costs arise in unexpected fashion. You just pointed out how there's been some variability year to year. 300,000 has been the amount we've appropriated at town meetings for at least the last 2 years, and it seems to have been about the right amount. Money that doesn't get spent on capital equipment retains with us. It doesn't go into the operating budget of the school. So if they don't use the entire 300,000, my understanding is that it remains for us to appropriate in the future, or it's authorized for their use in the future fiscal year.
It does not go into the operating budget. It stays within the capital budget.
Okay, we will take a vote on Article 10. This is a majority vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I deem the motion carries. Article 12, Capital Budget Appropriations Municipal Buildings. Page 41 of your warrant report, we have Brent Nelson again with a positive motion.
Move that the town appropriate $1,538,634 and transfer $1,523,634 from the Municipal Building Capital Stabilization Fund and $15,000 from the Respite Care Revolving Fund for the projects and purposes set out in the warrant report.
Do we have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. This is majority vote. All in favor of Article 12, please say aye. Opposed? Deemed the article carries. Article 8, Sewer Enterprise Fund Retained Earnings Transfer. This can be found on page 36 of your warrant report. And again, we have Brent Nelson with the positive motion.
Move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $100,000 from the Sewer Enterprise Retained Earnings to be used for the fiscal year 2025 operating expenses of the Sewer Enterprise Fund.
Do we have any comments or questions? This is, again, a majority vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I deem the motion carries. Article 14, FY 2026 Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund Budget. Can be found on page 49 of your warrant. I'll ask Emily McCabe for a positive motion.
Move that the town raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $3,300,263 for the Water Enterprise Fund and $2,516,144 for the Sewer Enterprise Fund as set out in the warrant report.
Do we have any comments or questions in the article? Okay, this is a majority vote. All in favor of Article 14, please say aye. All opposed? Deemed the article carries. Article 20, Cemetery Expansion Construction, can be found on page 56 of your warrant report. Warrant Committee Member Ashley Leduc for a positive motion.
Move that Article 20 be passed as set out in the warrant.
Do we have any comments or questions in the article? This is a majority vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Deemed the article carries. Article 21, Danielson Pond Dam. This can be found on page 57 of your warrant report. Ashley Leduc, again, for a positive motion.
Move that Article 21 be passed as set out in the warrant.
Any comments or questions in the article? Okay, this is a majority vote. All in favor of Article 21, please say aye. All opposed? I deem the article carries. Article 23, Medfield State Hospital Environmental Review, Overlook in Laundry Parcel. Page 59 of your warrant. Warrant Committee Member Emily McCabe for a positive motion.
Move that Article 23 be passed as set out in the warrant.
Do we have any comments or questions? Okay, this also requires a majority vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Deemed the article carries. Article 24, Parks and Recreation Modular Appropriation. This can be found on page 60 of the warrant report. Warrant Committee Member Jill Rafter has a report and a positive motion.
In November 2024, the FAF Center was permanently closed due to structural integrity issues, leaving Parks and Recreation without dedicated space for the first time since 1967. The Parks and Recreation Commission immediately sought temporary space for administrative offices while utilizing other school and town spaces for recreational programming. While Parks and Recreation is currently leasing temporary space from the UCC Church on Main Street, the smaller space has resulted in a reduction of winter and spring programming. The town attempted to find suitable commercial space that would be big enough to accommodate current programming. However, there were no viable options. Parks and Recreation provides an important summer camp option for Medfield families, and the town was committed to finding a viable option for their summer programming that would result in little to no loss of their programming. With guidance from the Permanent Planning and Building Committee, the Parks and Recreation Commission has decided that leasing a modular building to be located at Hinckley Swim Pond is the best option. The Hinckley Park modular option, in combination with increased utilization of school spaces, will allow summer camp programming to proceed with little to no reduction in capacity for Medfield families. The $165,000 appropriation to fund the modular leases for 1 year. The Parks and Recreation Commission has stated they will use the next year to identify next steps and a timeline for securing a long-term solution. Initial site work and planning costs for the modular are being funded from the Parks and Recreation's fiscal year 2025 operating budget. The 1-year lease for the modular will be funded with $65,000 from the Municipal Buildings Stabilization Fund and $100,000 from overlay surplus that was released by the Board of Assessors. The Warrant Committee agrees with the Parks and Recreation Commission. This is the best temporary solution for Parks and Recreation. This will allow the Parks and Recreation Commission to further explore the options for a long-term solution. A positive motion, move that the town transfer the sum of $165,000, of which $65,000 is from the Municipal Building Stabilization Fund and $100,000 from overlay surplus that was released by the Board of Assessors for purposes set out in the warrant.
Do we have any comments or questions in the article? Okay, this is a majority vote. All in favor of Article 24, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Deemed that the article passes. Article 25, Elementary School Feasibility Study Funding. This can be found on page 61 of the warrant report. Warrant Committee member Pete Michelson with a report and a positive motion.
The positive motion first, move that the town of Medfield appropriate the amount of...
Pete, hold on.
I'm so sorry. I'll start again. Positive motion. Move that the town of Medfield appropriate the amount of $400,000 from certified free cash in addition to the prior appropriations of $250,000 on May 9, 2022, $250,000 on May 1, 2023, and $650,000 on May 6, 2024, for a total appropriation of $1,550,000 for the purpose of paying costs of a feasibility study to review potential solutions to the problems identified in the Dale Street Elementary School Statement of Interest, including, but not limited to, an independent comprehensive school enrollment and capacity analysis, public outreach, obtaining soil borings, topographical studies, land surveys, wetland surveys, preliminary site development plans, schematic designs, architectural and engineering designs, cost estimates, and construction alternatives, and any incidental or related services for the addition and/or renovation to or replacement of the Dale Street Elementary School, located at 45 Adams Street, Medfield, Mass. 02052, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, said amount to be expended under the direction of the Medfield School Building Committee. The town of Medfield acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any costs the town of Medfield incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town of Medfield. Further, the town of Medfield acknowledges that it will not receive reimbursement from the MSBA for costs incurred during the feasibility study and schematic design phase due to previously being reimbursed for feasibility study and schematic design costs for a project that was withdrawn from the MSBA pipeline in 2021. However, the town of Medfield, having been re-invited into the MSBA pipeline in 2024, may be eligible for reimbursement costs incurred after the feasibility study and schematic design phase. Warrant Committee report. The Medfield School Building Committee, SBC, was reconstituted in early 2023 to study and evaluate options for the renovation and/or replacement of the current Dale Street School. To date, the town has appropriated $1,150,000 for the SBC to pay for the cost of a feasibility study, included but not limited to the various studies mentioned in the above article. While some of the prior feasibility study may be available to be reused, there will be changes to project costs, building design, and changes to space requirements, etc., necessitating a new feasibility study. The town, through the school building and select board, the town through the school committee and select board reapplied to the Massachusetts School Building Authority program and was notified in December 2024 that the town has been invited back into the program. Full funding for a feasibility study is required to be in place to move forward in the MSBA program. The feasibility study is not eligible for reimbursement from the MSBA. This appropriation and prior appropriations from certified free cash will bring us to full funding for the estimated costs of a feasibility study at $1,550,000.
Do we have any comments or questions in the article? Okay, this is a majority vote. All in favor, Article 25, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I deem the article carries. Article 26, Elementary School Tax Mitigation Stabilization Fund Appropriation. Be found on page 62 of your warrant. And Pete, I'm sorry, but I'll kick it right back to you for a report and positive motion.
The motion is much shorter. Move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $900,000 from certified free cash into the Elementary School Tax Mitigation Stabilization Fund. Warrant Committee report. The approval of a debt exclusion for a new elementary school has been a core part of the town's capital project strategy for over a decade. In fact, it has been the town's most significant capital project need for a long time. The Select Board School Committee and the School Building Committee have stated their support for an elementary school building project and for the need to find ways to reduce the financial burden on residents. The 2024 annual town meeting approved the creation of the Elementary School Tax Mitigation Fund, which was a critical step in building community support for a new school. In December, the town of Medfield was invited back into the Mass School Building Authority program. This article will appropriate $900,000 of certified free cash into this dedicated tax mitigation fund with the goal of reaching a total of $4 to $5 million of future tax relief to be utilized during the first 3 fiscal years after the debt issuance for the new elementary school project. The Select Board has also identified the proceeds from existing and future land sales as an additional source of funding. The current balance of the Elementary School Tax Mitigation Fund as of December 31, 2024 was $936,489.70, and the balance of the sale of land fund is $450,000.
Do we have any comments or questions on the article?
Steve Dragatakis, 18 Hillcrest Road. Can we identify the land identified by the selectmen proposed?
I don't, the proceeds that are the $450,000, that is from the Hinckley, the sale of the Hinckley property. So that's already happened. In terms of future land sales, you know, I think you can sort of guess where that might be up at the hospital area.
Would the selectmen care to identify anything in that area?
Gus?
So we don't have any current sales under consideration. There was an article last year to open up, authorize the disposition of the land of Hinckley South, voted down by at town meeting. So that was a potential sale, but that was voted down. So that one was blocked. At this point in time, we do not have any specific land sales. Some of you who've been following town activities might know that there's been the beginnings of a discussion of possibly looking at disposing of land south of Hospital Road as part of a development of a recreation center. So that's an idea, and it's very much not developed to the point where we're prepared to take action. That's probably the most likely place that we'd see activity.
Follow on, do you have a list of available town land listed at this time, or is it just whatever town land? Do you have a list of available town land for sale?
You mean available town land to sell? No, we don't.
Okay.
We've probably been more focused on the hospital land, but we don't have a list. We haven't made that kind of a decision about getting rid of land. So,
thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions in the article? Seeing none, this is a majority vote. All in favor of Article 26, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Deem the article carries. Article 29, accessory dwelling unit, ADU zoning amendment. This can be found on page 73 of your warrant. We will have a report and a positive motion from Steve Callahan, and we will also have a report from Sarah Lemke of the Planning Board. Steve?
Move to amend the code of the town of Medfield, chapter 300 zoning, as set out in the warrant report. The warrant committee agrees with the planning board that these updates to the bylaw are important changes needed, since without them, the state regulations would govern ADU construction and oversight. Under the Mass Regulations, Section 8 of Chapter 150 of the Acts of 2024 and 760 CMR 71, effective February 2nd, 2025, accessory dwelling units that are up to 900 square feet or 50% of the principal dwelling's gross floor area, whichever is smaller, are allowed by right in the single-family residential zones without owner occupancy requirements. Municipalities may set reasonable local standards, setbacks, height limits, site plan reviews, and may also address short-term rentals. If Medfield does not adopt any updated bylaw, the existing local rules for family or in-law apartments would no longer apply, and state regulations would govern ADU construction and oversight. Under this proposed bylaw, some ADUs in Medfield would be allowed by right, while others would require site plan approval from the planning board to address privacy and stormwater considerations. ADUs over 900 square feet or are located in an aquifer protection district or flood zone would require a special permit from the zoning board of appeals.
Sarah?
Is this on? Yep. Sarah Lemke, 172 Harding Street. Just a quick question. I have an oral report on 28 and 29. Do you just want 29?
28 will be next.
Just 29. Okay. Pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, as amended, the Medfield Planning Board held a public hearing on Monday, March 24th, 2025, to consider amending the Town of Medfield zoning bylaw as set out in Article 29. Article 29. This article seeks to amend the Medfield Town Code, Article 300, zoning, by updating Section 14, Administration and Enforcement, specifically by deleting Section 300-14.10I, Family Apartments, in its entirety, and inserting in its place a new Section 300-14.17, entitled Accessory Dwelling Units, ADUs, to amend Section 300-2.1, word usage terms defined by updating the definition of accessory dwelling units, and to revise the table of use regulations, Section 300, Attachment 1, related to accessory dwelling units, and to make any related changes or additions necessary to incorporate the proposed amendment. These updates are intended to ensure compliance with Section 8 of Chapter 150 of the Acts of 2024 that amend Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3A, and the regulations promulgated at 760 CMR 71, Protected Use ADUs. On March 24, 2025, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend passage of Article 29.
Thank you, Sarah. We have a question.
My question, Tom Sweeney, 61 North Street. My question goes to the business zone special permit. Would someone please explain to me, seeing I have a two-family in the business zone, what that's going to limit me in an accessory unit?
Steve, did you get that question?
I think Sarah should answer that.
Sarah? Okay. We're working on it, Tom.
It's okay, take your time. All I want is an answer.
You'll get it. How's everything else going?
Can't wait for Memorial Day.
Can you hear me? So the ADUs would be allowed in any district that allows for a single-family home. I believe most business districts do allow for single-family homes. The only districts that I can think of that do not is the industrial district. So the ADUs and how they're permitted will depend on the size of your ADU. Basically, according to the state law, if your ADU is 900 square feet or smaller.
Can you step back a little? You're muffling my hearing aids.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. So if your ADU is 900 square feet or smaller, and the zone that your business is in allows for a single-family home, then you would be allowed to do this either by right or by site plan approval.
Yeah, mine would be probably 1,300 feet per level.
Your ADU would be 1,300 square feet?
Separate apartment upstairs. I have my apartment here. My son lives with us now, so we were thinking about how about the accessory as a, help us out a little bit.
Yeah. So a couple things. So as Maria said, the size of the ADU and what the permit process is depends on the size. So if you're under 900 square feet, in most cases, you can do it with site plan approval from the planning board or just by pulling a building permit. If you're over 900, then you likely need a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. But as it relates to specific parcels of land, it's definitely worth a conversation with Maria at Town Hall about how you would go about pursuing it for your property. But it is worth mentioning that an ADU doesn't have to be a separate structure. It could be located within your single-family home, attached, detached. There's a lot of flexibility, but anything over 900 would require a special permit from the ZBA.
Do I have to go to the Board of Appeals to get that?
Yes.
Figured that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the article? Okay, this is a majority vote. All in favor of Article 29, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I deem the article carries. Article 28, floodplain district zoning amendment. You found on page 64 of the warrant report. Steve will give the warrant committee report.
Ed.
Oh, Ed, I'm sorry. Ed Vizella will give the positive motion and the warrant report before we go to Sarah for the planning board report.
Yeah, the positive motion. Move to amend the code of the town of Medfield, chapter 300 zoning, article 10 floodplain district as set out in the warrant. The warrant committee supports this updated bylaw because it's designed to protect people and property in high-risk flood zones by requiring special permits for construction and land changes. It follows Federal Emergency Management Agency FEMA guidelines, helping their town remain in the National Flood Insurance Program and maintain access to flood insurance and federal disaster aid. Approved by the Department of Conservation and Recreation, it closely reflects FEMA model bylaw and replaces the outdated existing law.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yep, Sarah Lemke, 172 Harding Street. Pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, as amended, the Medfield Planning Board held a public hearing on Monday, March 24th, 2025, to consider amending the Town of Medfield zoning bylaws set out in Article 28. The public hearing was duly posted and advertised in the Hometown Weekly on March 6th, 2025, and March 13th, 2025. No testimony was offered by members of the public, either in support or in opposition to the matter. Article 28. The article seeks to amend the Town of Medfield zoning bylaw, Chapter 300 General Code, by replacing the existing language of Article 10, Floodplain District, with this bylaw, and making related changes to incorporate the proposed Article 10. These amendments will align the bylaw with the Department of Conservation and Recreation's model bylaw in order to meet the National Flood Insurance Prevention and FIP program's requirements. On March 24th, 2025, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend passage of Article 28.
Okay. Do we have any comments or questions on the article? Okay, seeing none. This is a 2/3 majority vote. All in favor of Article 28, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I deem the article carries by the required 2/3 majority. We are at that time of the night for Article 13, which is the FY 2026 operating budget. The Budget can be found on page 44 of your warrant report. It requires a simple majority. Beginning on page 45, I am going to read each budget line item in order. If you would like further consideration of any line item, please yell hold. If there is a hold, we will vote the remainder of the budget and come back to the held ones after. Okay. Workers' compensation insurance, health and life insurance, liability insurance, unemployment compensation, Medicare insurance, county retirement contribution, OPEB contribution, selectmen salaries, selectmen operations, town administrator salaries, town administrator operations, town accountant salaries, town accountant operations, assessor's salaries, assessor's operations, treasurer collector salaries, treasurer collector operations, town council operations, human resource salaries, human resource operations, information technology salaries, information technology operations, town clerk and election registrar salaries, town clerk and election registrar operations, conservation commission salaries, conservation commission operations, planning and zoning salaries, planning and zoning and appeals operations, town public buildings and property maintenance salaries, town public building and property maintenance operations, town report meeting salaries, town report meeting operations, police operations salaries, police operations operations, traffic marking sign operations, fire and rescue operations salaries, fire and rescue operations operations, inspection salaries, inspections operations, sealer salaries, sealer operations, emergency management salaries, emergency management operations, animal control salaries, animal control operations, tree care salaries, tree care operations, highway salaries, highway operations, snow and ice salaries, snow and ice operations, street lighting operations, equipment repair maintenance salaries, equipment repair maintenance operations, sidewalks operations, solid waste disposal salaries, solid waste disposal operations, cemetery salaries, cemetery operations, health salaries, health operations, council on aging personnel, council on aging operations, veterans salaries, veterans operations, outreach salaries, outreach operations, library salaries, library operations, parks and recreation salaries, parks and recreation operations, historical commission operations, Memorial Day, Veterans Day operations, Arts Cultural Council, Reserve Fund, town debt principal, town debt interest, regional vocational school operations, school personnel. I missed stabilization. Okay. School personnel, school administration operations. Do we have a motion from the warrant committee?
Yes, positive motion. Move that the town appropriate $73,948,193 to the various departmental operating budgets to defray the operating expenses of the town for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025, as set out in Article 13 of the warrant report under the column FY26. Warrant committee recommends that to meet the said appropriation, sums to be raised on the fiscal year 2026 tax levy and/or transferred from other available funds totaling $3,763,394. This article represents the appropriations for the operating budgets for the various municipal and school departments for FY 2026, which runs from July 1st, 2025 to June 30, 2026. The proposed balanced budget is in compliance with the town's financial policies and within the tax levy limitations of Proposition 2.5. Additional information about the town and school budgets requests can be found on the town's website.
This requires a simple majority to pass. All in favor of Article 13, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I deem the article carries. Before we dispose of the next article, I just want to give a few thank yous. It takes a lot to run a town meeting, but a special thank you to Chris Allen, who graciously gives his times and talents for sound every annual town meeting. Katie Duvall and her team at Medfield TV, including Mike Gagan on video. And also our dedicated facilities team that gets this set up nice for us. So thank you, everyone. We have one more article, Article 30, free cash, and I believe we have a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and may I congratulate you on what I think has to be a record time for a town meeting.
It will be if you finish this up, Steve.
We can all now go home and see the halftime Celtics. At any rate, the Warrant Committee recommends no action be taken on Article 30. There's no positive motion.
Okay. With that, I deem town meeting to be completed. Thank you very much. You may go home. Great job, everyone.